Just 40 kids with a chance to build their own society.
Our work is cut out for us.
Welcome to Kid Nation.
No one here knows how to cook.
I'm a beauty queen. I don't do dishes.
The only show where kids will do things all on their own. A TV event unlike anything you've ever seen.
It's dusty. We're dirty.
I'm just gonna have to keep pushing.
We can do it.
This is our world.
Kid Nation, coming this fall to CBS.
But I also want to place it in for the younger kids in Alaska. I don't know how old you are. You have to understand at the time period, we didn't have a lot. We didn't take out the internet. You don't have that. You don't have that interface to deal with. You have to actually look at people. And I love Kevin and the premiere and Heather are both really focused on the idea that we had to look each other in the eye. We don't have that freedom of social media that they have nowadays. So we had to deal with each other and work things out one-on-one, which nowadays seems odd because people just don't interact in the same way.
Yeah. That show comes about at a time before Trolls, right? Which isn't to say you didn't have assholes. You definitely did. But I mean, it was like you couldn't hide behind an online
persona.
It didn't happen. You had to deal with stuff in a much more direct way with somebody.
For me, MTV was like the internet. MTV was this gateway to all this different stuff. First, music. You know, I'd been watching MTV as soon as I got it, so that was music that I was getting exposed to that I had never seen before. So it was great. But I was also getting that from like Night Flight, Friday Night Videos. There were other outlets for it, but MTV was 24 hours, so you could just tune in at any time and catch that video you've seen a billion times. But you're excited because it's on right then. You don't have the advantage of going to pull it up. And maybe if you recorded it on your tape recorder off the radio, if you couldn't afford the tape, you have the song.
Yep.
So
Staying up late for 120 minutes, so I could find new music to listen to.
And all these shows came out of blocks that MTV created because they had to sell advertising. Because before it was just video. So if they had a block, they could say, okay, well, this gets these kinds of ratings. So all this came about is for the almighty dollar.
Right.
So once they start putting these blocks into place, that's how come we end up with these shows. And that's how, 30 years later, we're watching Teen OG Mom and whatever shit that is, where it just encourages teens to have babies to be on TV.
Well, I mean, so would it be fair to say that the real world was not only the kind of the formation the formation of reality TV as we know it, but in many ways it kind of goes on to ruin MTV, right?
Yeah, it
does.
Because
around this time you could still turn on MTV and your chances are pretty good you were going to see a music video.
Right.
And then it's only by the turn of the 2000 that they have to release MTV2 as the place where you go for the music video, and MTV1 is just all this shit programming, right?
Yeah.
So
it was all shit, easy to do programming.
Yeah, which is a shame because there was this period of MTV is fascinating. Like for me, the real world was important, but more important, liquid television, because I was a big animation nerd. And liquid TV was it was like the only, there was this moment of time in MTV's history where the original conceit of it, which was we are the tastemakers, right? We're going to introduce you to things that you can't easily find anywhere else, expanded beyond music. And when they did liquid TV and just here is interesting animation, I mean, I discovered so many people, just comic artists, that right, because they would bring in all comic artists like Charles Burns did Dog Boy for that. Richard Sala, my beloved Richard Sala, did an animated series for Liquid TV. So it's like there is very much a sense of we can be tastemakers for these other things, and then it's almost like the real world takes off, and it's so much cheaper to do that it just becomes Jersey Shore, like for 20 years. You're
hey, don't
not
get me wrong.
helping.
I love Jersey Shore. I'm part of the problem, but to me, Jersey Shore is just a group of people who got on a reality show, made the most of it, and continue to do it. And I don't think we can bash them, because it's like, if we could hang out and get paid to just party, I mean, why not? And I mean, and they're into it 10 years later.
What kind of partying though? Like, can I just get paid to hang out and read comics and do this shit live and go to the club and then we'll just talk comics at people? Yeah, put those Batmans up.
Oh God, this is the worst.
Please make a GIF of that.
Please don't draw penises on our screen. It's funny you bring up MTV2 and all that, because I remember whenever we had TVs in school, so like whenever the teacher or there was a sub or anything, like we would try to find the box. That was the name of the channel, now that one had music videos.
Okay.
And then I think eventually that's what became MTV2, like when they might have merged it or converted or whatever.
All right.
But then you get MTV2, and then that's where a lot of the reality show reruns start playing.
Yeah.
And like it's like this virus that keeps infecting anything they add. And then they came out with MTV Threads, which was like, it's a third channel. Now that one's really for music videos, but then they also that one I'm not as upset about, because they started adding some more shows with Latinx creators and stuff like that. So that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But overall, there was the meme a few weeks ago that you look at the MTV TV Guide lineup, and it's like 90% something called ridiculousness, like just that show, like for the whole week.
I mean, the most easy show to produce of all reality shows is a clip show. So they just play clips, and people sit there and laugh, and that's
is that what ridiculousness is?
Yeah.
So now
it is America's Funniest Home Videos for MTV.
I was gonna say we've come back around to the other earliest form of reality TV, which is just home videos.
The earliest form of comedy is a man getting hit in the crotch by a football.
Yep.
Caught on video.
Yep.
Well, I feel the need to talk about it just because it was such a different time, and trying to explain to Daniel that there was no internet. If you wanted to know what was going on, you would turn on MTV, and that was your gateway to what people your age were doing.
Right.
So you would turn it on. Hopefully it would be something you'd wanted to see, or a video you want to see. But even at that, if it was a video you didn't want to see, you wait 2 minutes and there's something else.
Right.
So MTV started doing House of Style, where they talked about fashion and stuff. MTV had
Cribs. Pimp Your Ride.
Yes.
Pimp My Ride. Like,
but Pimp My Ride was also another bust, because I don't think one car came out of that show still running. A lot of the follow up on those shows were like,
"Yo, dog, let me fuck up your car, dog."
Yeah. That they essentially like would make it look okay, but it may not function beyond like a few months. I don't think there's a lot of cars that survived the Pimp My Ride experience.
Right, because they rarely, I think only the ones that they would, when the car was so messed up that they would have to buy a new one for safety reasons.
Yeah.
And when they pimped those out, because those are new cars, like those would probably make it.
Yeah.
But all those old cars were not meant to support the type of stuff that they were putting in the cars, right?
Yeah.
Like your Pinto or your dad's Pinto was not gonna make the cut with, the subwoofers and the aquarium inside, and
because it's still gonna blow up if you get hit from behind.
Is that what happened?
That's what.
Is that what happened to Pintos?
Yes.
It seems like a design flaw. I'm not an engineer or anything. Please don't get that twisted, but seems like a design flaw.
The one thing though that I want to talk about for the real world is this conclusion. We're revisiting it. We're 29 years later. What can we do to make things better and not fall into that reality show lowest common denominator of just drama and bullshit. Like, I feel like Generation X has a chance to kind of like this reboot. It's already been filmed. All the episodes are in the can. So I don't think they're going to do anything great, but I feel like if we could revisit some of those questions that we created or that they created that first season about race and have real discussions and look at where we are as a society, that's what I'd like to get out of this. I don't want reality shows just to be another, oh, did you see that episode where this happened? Like, where the worst possible thing that could happen is.
Yeah. I think something else that could be helpful would be like, can you show us how those people actually changed and grew up and adapted and what they are now? Like, show me that not everyone that was kind of an ass back then is still an ass now.
Yeah.
Because then that'll tell other people, like, I don't have to be an asshole my whole life.
Well, I think that's going to be the biggest piece is people, as we create this second generation of reality shows, as we start to revisit it, people will start to look at themselves on camera and go, this is terrible. I don't want to come across like this. And maybe the next generation that see it go, oh, so it's bad to be the worst person on the reality show, not the most popular.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope there is some good that can come out of this reunion, right?
Yeah.
And reflecting back on not just the origins of reality shows, but what they've become. I think that comment by Kevin about we had our reality TV president is just so spot on and barbed and accurate. You know, I mean, we got into this mess because as a culture, and I don't want to blame the real world, but as the audience for it, right? We've taken on reality TV in such a almost devotish way.
Yeah. The biggest example of the problem with reality TV for me comes down to Kid Nation. Who watched Kid Nation?
Oh my God.
In the early 2000s.
So I
remember it or heard of it.
I've never watched Kid Nation, but there's a series on Funny or Die which kind of recaps Kid Nation. Because I don't think you can watch the show anymore. I don't think you can find it because it is pretty messed up. But yeah, I'll try to put a link on the description to the Funny or Die.
Because I've been rewatching interviews with a lot of the Real World cast. They've gone back and interviewed people from other reality shows, and some of those have been kids who were on Kid Nation.
Oh wow!
And they talk and they. So for those of you who don't know what Kid Nation is, back in
I was about to ask.
Back in the early 2000s, CBS said, "What if we made a TV show out of?" Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies.
That's what I was gonna say. It was like
Lord of the Flies. They even say that in the interview. Is like, we wanted to make a thing out of Lord of the Flies, and I'm like, did you finish the book though? Like, that's what I wanted to ask, because they put all these kids into this Western town and created a society. The adults were production and the host. And they gave them different things to do to survive, because they were going to have to create their own food. If they won chickens, they were going to have to kill them to cook them. And
they separated the kids out into different classes. Like,
yep,
you had like tiers, not like here's the blue team. It's like the blue team is the top team, and they have access to how food is going to be given out to people.
And what's terrifying about that is there is a classic sociological study where, from like I think the 1950s, where they took two groups of young boys. They were basically middle class kids, separated them, and put them into two different like camps basically, and the study comes around to the fact that the kids in the camp were fine with each other until the sociologist said, oh, but did you know what the kids in this camp over here are doing? And then they immediately turned on one another And it's this classic study of just like tribalism, right? So of course, if you're going to take kids and make them form a society and then give them a hierarchical structure, it's going to go wrong very quickly.
Well, one of the interviews I saw had one of the producers on the show, and he talked about making the kids cry on purpose for being on screen. And you're just like, holy shit, we've fallen this far. And the NDA,
And then he laughed and went like this. Excellent.
He's Mr. Burns.
He talked about it, and he said the way he worded it was, we wanted to get an emotional reaction from the children, so we would provoke them to get that reaction instead of calling it crying or any of the other breakdowns these kids had, because they didn't have their parents. They had the choice; they could leave at times. Mm-hmm. But man, it's just really sad to watch these kids try to live on their own.
Well, and it's like the range in ages is weird because there's kids that feel too young to be there,
7 and 8,
and then there's kids that feel like they're old enough that they're gonna take advantage of the situation and just like
I think the oldest kid is like 14 or 15.
Yeah. So
they would put children in leadership roles and with no idea how to be a leader, and then they would dictate how food was given, and then they would get in trouble for that. They would I mean, it is the worst reality.
I think there was a thing that
there are two really bad shows.
They had to earn water. They didn't just have access to water. They had to do stuff to earn it. Like they didn't have to dig a well or anything, but pretty much like they almost had to dig a well.
Yeah, they had to do a lot of work to get to certain things, and I mean, showing them cook for themselves, and it's like these kids have no idea how to make food, and they're just eating out of these bowls. There's like, we have beans.
They got to cook for everyone. So it's like this giant pot of boiling water that could probably kill one of the kids if it falls on top of them.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And parents, and so the NDA said, like, hey, your kids are going to come here for a specific amount of time. They're going to be filmed for the show, and you cannot sue us for anything that happens to them. And that was the whole NDA. And of course, as these kids got out of it and were, tortured and put on screen for entertainment and dollars, parents started suing. So there was a large group that sued. But yeah, that Funny or Die video that recaps all the episodes is fucking awesome. It is really great. So if you find that link, drop it into the show notes and people can recap it. It's like watching a Muppet Babies version of the Stanford prison experiment.
Oh God, please tell me that's the title of the episode.
It is. It's just really weird to watch. To see reality, the worst part of reality is kids being tortured like this, and I can't remember if it was called the Ugly Duckling or the Swan.
The Swan.
The Swan, yeah.
And it had people, and it was all women, wasn't it?
Is
all
that where
women?
they give plastic surgeries?
Yeah.
God, just awful. I mean,
reality has fucked up a generation of people.
Well, but here's the thing. Shows like that shouldn't even be called reality TV. There's nothing realistic about it, right?
Right.
I mean, it should have its own sub genre at this point.
But then again, you could say these reality shows that are edited down aren't reality.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's
the degree of how much reality do you say is reality. And the only way I could say it is if it was on 24/7 and you could just jump in and watch. And I don't want to do that. Like, that's like the Big Brother show. And I thought about that too. It's like, if you grew up in the 80s and you probably read 1984, for school, you wouldn't think a funny reality show would be called Big Brother, where they watch you all the time.
Right, exactly.
We kind of take these really terrible things and turn them into entertainment. And it's like, well, it's okay. Look, it's reality, but it's kids. It's cute.
It's a very Kurt Vonnegut kind of idea. I remember there's a famous story he does in, I want to say, Welcome to the Monkey House, that is about a society where they want everyone to be equal, So like the example is there's a TV broadcast of ballet dancers, but because they're so good at dancing, they actually are wearing like weights on their feet to keep them less capable. And it's that kind of idea where at what point is egalitarianism such a driving factor that it actually harms people? You know, it which hits a little too close for home for me at the moment. But anyway, it just it's a bad.
All right. Do we have? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Josh? Were you finished?
No. I'm done. I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, do we have any closing thoughts for this? I think this is something we could revisit, especially when we get Kyle on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do road rules next.
My great cultural like lack of a touchstone is the fact that my reality TV experience begins and ends with the real world and that PBS show. Like I got after season 3, I got so disgusted with it that I just as it kept moving in this direction of just sensationalism, like I want nothing to do with this anymore. So I don't watch any reality TV, none at all.
I watched it up until Hawaii, and I felt like they were using. There's a girl on the show, Ruthie, who I don't know if she had a drinking problem, but it seemed like she had a drinking problem on the show, and it was really difficult to watch nobody help her.
Oh God, yeah.
So that was kind of it. I kind of got real pompous about reality show and go, that's just not entertainment. That's shit. And then I would just watch the worst of the worst. I mean, I would watch every season of Flavor Flav. I watched 90 Day Fiance, people who are just trying to get into a country by marriage. And it's just sad. Like there are two levels of reality TV for me. It's like the people are on display to be ridiculed. And then there are people, I don't know, trying to get a better life. And then it's a TV better life. Like Home Makeover or Undercover Boss or any of this other bullshit they kind of present as entertainment that is supposed to help people out that doesn't. Like we have a lot of reality shows that kind of like, okay, that's the end. But like, if you have a reality show where your house is made from like a $100,000 home to a $500,000 home and you can't afford taxes on it anymore, that's a problem. Like, everything is kind of a TV solution for the past 30 years. If we could turn this corner on road rules, fuck.
Suck it, real world. Road rules win.
And if I could tell you another one that I really am in love with, it is Florida Bama Shore.
I hate you, Clay. Get out of here. You're done.
I know. I am complaining about it, but I do watch them, and it's really terrible.
Well, what's the Peacock one you brought up a couple episodes ago? The boat one.
Yeah. So they have. It's. I hate that I watch this.
On deck,
but you know what? It is that background noise. I put it on in the background. I don't care about it. Yeah. And I'll work harder. But when something happens, I will turn and just start consuming.
When the champagne starts flying.
So Peacock has a couple of shows that's it's their boat shows where it's a staff that work on a yacht for the whole season.
Under deck, under something like that, right?
Yeah, below deck.
Below deck? Okay.
Yeah, below deck and below deck Mediterranean.
Of course.
And it is the fucking richest people you've ever seen. I mean, it is ungodly amount of wealth that you could rent a yacht for maybe $250,000 for a weekend. And so you would watch people who will never be able to rent a yacht working on a yacht. And it's kind of their little drama and their little conflict. But then you see these rich people who live in a different atmosphere. They don't understand no. And the purpose of the staff is to make sure they never have to accept no. So if the internet doesn't work, they make it work. If they do everything to make these rich people happy for a tip that they get at the end, which is incredible. Because they may make, $1,500 for 3 days per person. So it's a nice get, and when they go during the seasons, but for me, it shows me a world I will never exist in. I will never have a yacht. I will never work on a yacht. I will never be in the Mediterranean, or have these rich people problems. I mean,
sounds like a less dangerous version of Deadliest Catch.
Yes,
maybe a more dangerous version, actually.
I will say my favorite reality show from MTV was Fear.
Oh yeah,
where they drop off a bunch of people in this haunted place, and there's not even a production team. Like they have these camera rigs that they go out and have.
Yeah, they're just on camera all the time.
It introduced me to that amazing opening song by Godsmack, Voodoo. So yeah, that's the one I was like always on because I like supernatural stuff, but this wasn't even supernatural. I don't think they ever took them anywhere that's actually haunted. But that tells you that I do believe there are haunted places.
We can talk offline. I will confirm it for you.
Clay, get out of here.
I've seen a ghost and I still don't believe myself.
When we lived at Southside, we straight up had a ghost move the bed after like 3 years of dealing with weird shit. And I can attest, I was in the bed when it moved. And we looked up and was there an earthquake? Like, no, it just kicked the bed. So
maybe a little late night Taco Bueno.
I feel like I've watched enough Supernatural to be able to deal with any threat. So, all right. Is there any more real? I think we can revisit this topic for sure.
Yeah, after the show plays out, I'm curious because I would really love for them to pivot because I feel like these people aren't classified like other reality shows. This is Generation X. This is people who are dealing with real world problems and are kind of put up as examples of our generation. And I don't mind. All those people to me are really good people. There's not a flaw I have with any of them. And the thing I wish I had done when I originally watched it was probably listen to Kevin more.
Yeah.
Kevin was right, and that's the thing I get out of the show a lot is that we don't know what kind of country we live in until everyone can step up and talk about what they're going through. And even Andre, the quietest guy on the show, that's been one of his things on the new show. He goes, I didn't understand what Kevin was talking about. And he goes, and for 29 years, I've been seeing it on the news. And he understands where they're coming from. And he goes, I feel like my silence, this is a chance for me to break my silence. So I see a lot of hope in the show that people can come out and step up and maybe we can get on the right track and talk about more positive things in reality shows and get to a better place. It's not great entertainment, but it's what we need. And that's my take. So
if anybody from Paramount Plus is watching, send us a membership for the show so we can watch the show and then we'll talk about the whole thing and, get you those viewers. Check out our stats.
Yeah.
20 views a video. All right. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll do... You all right?
You okay?
I'm sorry. I forget that the other dog is underneath my feet and I touched him and he tried to bite me.
Okay. All right. Well, no animals were harmed during the making of this video. We'll be back. Well, maybe Clay was. I don't know.